folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're talking about my favorite trivia games. Now, the most famous trivia game in the world is most likely Trivial Pursuit, or maybe Jeopardy, the TV show. And while both of those are very interesting, and I like the idea of knowing obscure bits of trivia, they can devolve into a couple things. One, the guy who knows really obscure stuff is going to win most of the time. And Trivial Pursuit, basically you roll dice and try to land on the right piece of pie. They're not awful, but there's other things I like better, and I wanted to give a list of my favorite 10 games that had something to do with trivia. So we're going to start with number 10, I Know, which looks like iPad or iPhone or something like that. But this is a game in which you are going to be asking people a trivia question. They know the topic, and they're going to say, I can get this in so many clues. And the more clues that they need, they go last. So I might only need one clue. I'll get more points going first, but I may not be able to get it from one clue. And you're also betting on how well other people are going to, are they going to get their things right or wrong. So it's kind of a fun thing to see how good you are at trivia and guess how good or not other people are at trivia. Number 9 is Time's Up. Now, Time's Up is one of my favorite games of all time. But it's lower on this list because it's not extremely strong on trivia, but the game is essentially trying to guess different people. And some of the people you may never have heard of, and you'll have to use other ways to get them. But many of the people you do know, like, who is this person here? Who's Robert E. Lee? And then we go through and say he was a general for the South in Civil War. The first round, you can give as many clues as you want. In the second round, you just give one clue. In the third round, you just do pantomime. So it gets sillier and sillier, but the first part at least has some trivia, and you can learn who some of these people are. Number 8 is Double Feature. I could have put a lot of movie trivia type games on this list. Double Feature is a lot of fun. You have 7 different categories of cards, and you'll be turning over 2 of them, and then everyone needs to think of a movie that has those 2 things in. It might be a genre and an actor. It might be a prop and something else. And if you can think of a movie that has those in it, so if you like trying to play, the 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon or things like that, this would appeal to you. Number 7 is Joe Name It. Now, Joe Name It, it's a game of lists, essentially. You're going to roll a die. Can someone here name 3 C's in the world? Or can someone name 6 different cereals made by Kellogg's? And that sort of thing is fun. It's also very small, very portable, easy to carry around. It's just, some cards and a die. And you then have to basically say, can you name this many, yes or no? Number 6 is 5-second rule. There's another one with a bit of a list where you need to name 3 things or name stuff based on a card. It might be name 3 colors. So it's very easy trivia. The problem is there is this timer with this little ball that rolls down that is 5 seconds long. And that's all the time you have to answer the question. So it's very, very tense. You're like, and the time's going to run out. And this is a really easy thing. Name 3 ice cream flavors. I can do it. There's strawberry, chocolate, and blah, 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 blah. And it makes for a very fun game. Number 5 is Smarty Party. Another game of lists, but this time you're answering as a group. So I might say, can you name all the states that border Tennessee? And we go around and each person gives an answer. If it's on the checklist, you check it off. If they get it wrong, they take a point chip. Points are bad in this game. And you keep going around till all the point chips are gone or until you get everything right, which is probably not always going to happen. And then at that point, everyone scores points. You keep going. When one person gets to a certain number, game's over, fewest points wins. It's fun to do the list. They're not all, geography, which might be boring to some people. They might be name 7 actors on this TV show or what have you. Number 4 is Fauna. Fauna is a game in which it's trivia about animals. And where does this animal live in the world? How long is this animal? How heavy is this animal? But you're bidding on the answers to these. You're guessing. I don't know where this animal lives, but I'm pretty sure it's somewhere in Africa. So I'll put a token in West Africa, hoping that it's there or next to one of those spots. And so the game lets you get points for being close to the correct answer, which makes it a lot of fun. Number 3, very similar along those lines, is Terra, which is the exact same game almost as Fauna, but Terra is a little bit better for me because it's not animals, it's all sorts of things like where are the pyramids in the world? That's an easy one, but some of them you might not know, or when were the pyramids built? So it's not just places, it's times, and again, you don't have to be correct necessarily, you have to just be close to being correct, or if someone else picks an answer, you're like, I'm pretty sure Marcy knows that answer, so I'm going to go next to her and get some points out of it. Let's see, that was number 3. Number 2 is Timeline. Wow, I really waffled my top 2 here. Timeline is a great game. So great they made so many versions of it. You'll see most of the Timelines are historical games, but there's also games called Cardline, which are very similar with animals and dinosaurs and even Marvel Universe. But in Timeline histories, you have a card in the middle of the table. When did Columbus discover America? 1492. Great, everyone knows that. Okay, next card here. When was the cotton gin invented? Was it before 1492 or after? Well, that's pretty easy. It's after. You flip it over, you see the date the cotton gin was invented. Then the next card can go before, after, or in between those cards. And what's great about all these Timeline games is they can all be mixed together too. So there's inventions and pop culture. Fantastic. It's also a great educational game. Number 1 trivia game for me, though, is still Wits and Wagers. Wits and Wagers, which sounds like a gambling game, and it is. You're basically gambling on if other people know the correct answer or not. Everyone gets asked a question that probably no one knows. What percentage of Americans own 2 computers or more? In what year did something happen that no one knows about this? Or how many different sub-nephews are there of the Tsar in Russia in 1917? Whatever the thing is, everyone writes a number down, and you put them in the middle from lowest to highest, and the correct answer is the answer that comes closest to the correct answer without going over it. But before the answers are revealed, everyone can bet on which one is the correct answer. And so you're trying to say, well, I don't know this at all, but Bob knows a lot about history, so this might be him. Or Susan really knows all her movies really well, so I'm going to bet on her. It's a lot of fun, can be played in a game show setting. There's also simpler variants where the betting is not as strong in them. Wits and Wagers Family and Wits and Wagers Party. Both of those are good. I like the original Wits and Wagers best, but they all do the same thing. You don't need to know the exact answer. You just need to know who might know it. And that makes this a blast to play. Lots of fun. So anyway, those are my top 10 trivia games. Tell me what yours are in the comments below. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.